Welcome to Fight News Now Extra. I'm John Pollock with lots of news coming out of this past weekend as the UFC touched down on Poland for the first time. A Pride legend turned back the clock, the Fox card takes a hit, and Bellator 136 featured a lightweight title defense in their main event from California. Mirko Cro Cop returned to the UFC on Saturday for a rematch with Gabriel Gonzaga and seeking revenge on the man who stopped Cro Cop with a head kick knockout back in 2007. After 2 rounds, it appeared Gonzaga was well on his way to a second win over the Croatian, but the tables turned in the 3rd round as Cro Cop stunned Gonzaga and followed up with strikes and got on top with numerous elbows connecting to signal the end of the fight, and Cro Cop avenges his 2007 defeat and secures his first win inside of the UFC since June of 2010. It was on Friday evening that MMAfighting.com reported that middleweight Yoel Romero had suffered a ligament and meniscus tear in his knee, and he is off of this weekend's Fox card in Newark, New Jersey, where he was to fight Ronaldo Jacare Souza. The loss of Romero is a big blow to the card, and with only 1 week to find a replacement for Romero, the UFC announced on Saturday that Chris Camozzi is returning to the promotion and will fight Jacare on short notice. The two fought in May of 2013, with Jacare submitting Camozzi in the opening round. Camozzi will enter this fight as a huge underdog. And Bellator 136 went down on Friday night from Irvine, California, and was headlined by lightweight champion Will Brooks successfully defending his title against Dave Jansen. The two lightweights went the full 25 minutes after a big opening round from Jansen. Brooks would be the more accurate striker throughout the fight and really pulled away in the 4th round, opening up Jansen and outworking him the rest of the way as Brooks took a unanimous decision on straight scores of 49-46 from the judges at cageside. I am here with Robin Black, a man who I spent all Saturday afternoon watching fights with from Poland. And, you know, this was a card going in, Robin, that it was kind of, when there's so many UFC cards, there are ones that are just going to have baseline interest. But I've got to say, that main event, that arena was going insane for Mirko Cro Cop. You were losing your mind like it was 1985, and Mirko Cro Cop, a huge turnaround. I mean, a great story to this fight, and kind of a feel-good moment at the end of the show with Mirko Cro Cop getting that win, and that crowd was just ecstatic for the win.
This is what legend fights are supposed to be all about. You know, a legend fight isn't necessarily Ken Shamrock going to fight a guy who used to fight on YouTube. That could be one, but they only work if it's driven by a guy who's desperate to prove something. A guy, whether he's desperate to prove that he's still relevant or he's desperate, as in Mirko Cro Cop's case, to go back and get some revenge and take back something he felt was taken from him. When you see a legitimate legend motivated by something like that, you can get these great moments. And Cro Cop to go in there, he's now 6-0 in rematches. I mean, you want to fight Cro Cop a second time, you're going to lose. That's the fact. I mean, Roy Nelson's probably next to his sights on his revenge tour, and I will be happy to watch that legend fight for a couple more years if he has it in him.
Yeah, this was a fight where, I mean, there are times we will watch guys and it's, you know, Mirko Cro Cop did not show in terms of just having nothing out there. I mean, this was somebody that he went in there, said his strategy was to get Gonzaga tired, and he thought the 3rd round things would change. And whether that was hindsight being 20/20, that's how things did play out for Mirko Cro Cop. And I think the offer will be there for him to continue his career in the UFC.
There is something about Cro Cop that seems like he's genuinely a pretty honest guy. He's never really had the most fancy things to say, win or lose. He's generally accepted defeat. I believe him when he says, and I mean, it is a logical line of thinking, this 255-pounder who's motivated to get you to the ground is probably
and who mounted him at one point.
Yeah, twice, one in each of the rounds. Oh my God, like surviving that, once he survived it with a buck to a heel hook threat, that's pretty badass for a guy who's, what's Mirko Cro Cop now, 80? I mean, he's getting up there. So he is it's cool to see him still fighting like that. And in the 3rd round, it was, I believe, a left elbow that dropped him, and then it was all about elbows. I mean, another thing, a guy goes and you feel that he took something from you when you lose. That's how Mirko told us when we chatted with him on the phone. Now you give him something back, a scar that literally goes from here, skips the eye, and then starts again. That was a hell of a scar. That was a hell of a fight.
If there isn't a horror producer out there that is enlisting Gabriel Gonzaga for their next project, I don't know what to tell you.
They got 50 grand each. That helps a little.
The main card also featured quite a big upset with Marina Moroz making her UFC debut. This woman's only been fighting since November of 2013. I don't think anybody picking her against Joanne Calderwood, who looked like this was just a layup for Joanne Calderwood before she would fight for the strawweight championship. It seemed everything was in place. They've got a card in Scotland in July. Seemed ready-made. Joanna was right there cage side, but Marina Moroz didn't get that memo, and a tremendous performance, and kind of throws that strawweight division. That's kind of what I'm enjoying about this division, much like Jan Jacek surprising a lot of people against Carla Esparza. It's a division that's figuring itself out, and we're putting all of these fighters in there, and we're seeing some interesting results.
Yeah, I'm a purist. I want to see the very best of the very best fight at the top in the UFC. But that is not necessarily exclusively the case anymore. I used to be all pissed off that CM Punk was fighting. Now we see this guy's going to be better than some of the people that we'll see fighting. This girl's been fighting for 18 months. CM Punk will be training at the highest level for 18 months by the time he fights. He'll be better than some of the lowest level people. So you're absolutely right. What are you going to do? Go, I don't want to watch 115-pound women with 18 months experience? Or look at it and go, the exciting aspect of this is how up in the air it is. That huge diversity between the top and the bottom levels. I mean, there are jumping, pulling guard and going for an armbar. That don't work in 2015 170-pound UFC level men anymore. But it does work at this level in 115 women, because the division is moving along at a different rate and there's a different amount of people. It's been around for a shorter time. So if you're going to enjoy it, enjoy the diversity and the wide range of skill levels, and the fact that on any given night anybody's going to win any of these fights.
And we also saw Jimmy Manawa get a victory on the main card, and then afterwards announcing the fact that his knee was shredded going into this fight. Didn't pull out, gets the win over Jan Blachowicz, but this is somebody, he's 35 years old, he just missed a year, and this knee injury, this could keep him out 6 to 12 months, depending on how significant the tears are in his knee.
They show, you know, you look at this and, you know, anything can happen to you. You can be on a winning streak, but age catches up with you, injuries catch up with you. Manawa, this was an important win for him to get back after the only loss he's ever had against a top contender, and then he's injured. Feel bad for the dude.
All right, those are our thoughts on the card from Krakow, Poland. I'm sure you're going to see replays of it here on Fight Network. It was our first main card in history. We've got more Fight News Now Extra, and it's coming up now.